Hello, welcome to our homestead. My name is Cherie, and today in the Harvest Kitchen, we're going to be making citrus stained glass potpourri ornaments. I hope you'll join me. So today, we're going to be using citrus. You can use grapefruit, oranges, limes, any kind of citrus that you enjoy. This is an ornament idea that I actually kind of got an idea for because a few years ago I started dehydrating. And Christmas has always been kind of a very difficult time for our family. It's because we're homesteaders, we don't have a lot of money that we store up for presents, and we're a very practical kind of family anyway. So we like to come up with ideas that have more than one use. So I always love the idea of using nature to make Christmas ornaments and to decorate. Many years ago, probably about 30 years ago, my husband Ron and I traveled to Mississippi, actually to Jackson, to the capital city, to go see just have a fun trip at Christmas time. And so we went into a mansion, and we also went to the old Capitol Museum. And in there they used a variety of different types of homemade objects to make beautiful traditional ornaments. Of course, they were capturing times that would probably be, you know, Civil War era and, you know, beyond that. And so they were using paper and string and yarn, and then of course they used natural items like pine cones, which are relevant in the South. We have a lot of those. Magnolia leaves, oranges, and cloves to make clove balls, which we'll do in another video. And lots of different items like that. And I just loved it. I just fell in love with that kind of decorating. And so even though over the years my husband and I have collected a variety of different types of ornaments and decorations, it has been my personal desire to get back to a more natural, simplistic style of decorating, and then also using it to have multi-purpose. So on the homestead, we have been coming up with some ideas, and this, as I showed you in our opening, is a citrus ornament. Now, actually, it's just dehydrated citrus, where you actually cut the slices into about 1/4 inch, and you dehydrate them in a dehydrator or in the oven, set at about 200 degrees on parchment paper for 2 hours. And then every half hour you flip it over and keep an eye on it because it can burn, and when it burns, instead of having orange, you'll have amber, which a lot of my ornaments are amber and they're pretty anyway. But these make really fun ornaments because you can do a variety of things, and for you who are very crafty, I can imagine you're already thinking up some ideas. Now here's something kind of interesting. The ornaments on this tree are from last Christmas, so that was a year ago. I have been storing them in a mason jar, in this jar right here, and you'll also notice on the tree that we have little packages of cinnamon sticks that I have tied together and put on the tree. This was really kind of on purpose. Last year I actually strung popcorn and had popcorn on the tree. After Christmas is over, what I do is I store the citrus and the cinnamon sticks together in this jar. And throughout the year I use it as potpourri in the house. Now last year also what I did was, my friend had given me a lot of citrus as a gift. And so what I did was I dehydrated some of the citrus for her and gave her a mason jar for Christmas. And she used that throughout the year with different teas and enjoyed it and said it was wonderful. So here I am hanging the same ornaments a year later that didn't get used for potpourri. But I'll tell you, if you've ever tried putting citrus and cinnamon together in a pot and boil it on the stove, your house will smell absolutely delicious, and people will be thinking you're baking something wonderful. So this is just one idea you can do with it, but can you imagine the possibilities? I want to look back at the tree for just a minute. These ornaments capture the light. I can't begin to describe to you what it looks like in person. But earlier today, I had this tree decorated, and it just looked empty. And then when I was preparing to do this video for you, I looked, and when we started hanging the ornaments, the citrus ornaments, they started picking up the light on the tree, and then I fell in love with this tree all over again. And this is where I put my tree every year, in the kitchen on top of the microwave. We use it as a night light. And I have made little gingerbread ornaments and star. These are felt ornaments. I've made dough ornaments. We have keepsake ornaments that we've collected throughout our marriage. Just a variety of things. But I like this citrus design so much, this idea, that I'm getting ready to, in the Harvest Kitchen today, we're going to do this together in this video. I'm going to slice and dehydrate, show you how we do it, and we're going to take a few leftover oranges that are looking kind of, you know, been around a while, and we're going to make fresh new ornaments to hang on my big Christmas tree. And we'll see that later on in this video. So come on along, let's have some fun building memories. This is a great activity you can do with your children, and it's become a tradition in our home. So I hope you enjoy it and think of all the wonderful possibilities, and I hope you'll share those with me in the bottom where you can leave your comments. Come on, let's get started. Okay, here we go. Well, we have a pan with parchment paper, and I just use an old pan so that, you know, it's just a craft project, so it's very easy lining it with the parchment paper, just one piece. And then I have my dehydrator trays. I wanted to show you a little something special about this tray. I had actually seen this on YouTube myself with other homesteaders who dehydrate, and I decided to make my own. This is plastic canvas that I bought, I believe, at Hobby Lobby. And you can get this kind. I did check into it, and I found out that it's perfectly safe for food because these are recycled milk jugs. So this is the very fine, I want to bring it close so you can see, very fine mesh, okay? And you want to buy the large pieces. I think they're, what is it, 11 by 14, okay, something like that. So here's my dehydrator tray. And then I have citrus here. Now, a very nice lady gave my family some citrus, and I'm holding this up for you to see that this citrus is getting old. It's pretty hard. It's starting to dry out anyway. You'll notice there's some spots on it. I'm not worried about that at all. This is one wonderful way to recycle citrus and not to let it go to waste. The first thing I'm going to do is, if I can, I would pop off that little stem right there, but it's pretty hard in there right now because it's so dried out. So I'm just going to start slicing. Okay, and you can see that's pretty hard for me to slice right now because it's starting to dry out. So if your citrus, cutting 1/4 inch, okay, 1/4 inch slices, you want to keep them thin because if you make them too thick, you're going to have gooey oranges, and it's going to take a long time to dehydrate, okay? So try, if you can, to keep your slices at 1/4 inch. So I'm going to slice through these and do 1/4 inch, okay? And if your oranges are very juicy, there's a little bit of juice coming out of these right now. But if they're particularly juicy, you can pat them on a paper towel. Mine are not so juicy, so I'm going to just go ahead and put them on the tray just like that. When you hit the seeds, you want to go ahead and take those seeds out, okay? Now, I tell you, at first, it may be a little intimidating because you don't really know, well, at what point do I know that these are done? Well, you're going to know they're done when they get pretty hard. They may be a little sticky, but not mushy. So as you're pulling them out of the dehydrator, and you'll notice that's actually a little more than 1/4 inch there. So I didn't do a very good job per se on this one, but just try to keep them really thin, okay? So if you notice that your oranges are getting they're still kind of sticky and gooey, and they're just still too wet in some places, just put them back in the dehydrator or the oven and let them keep going, okay? Now, here's just a few slices to give you an idea of what we're going to do, okay? So there they are. Now, I'm going to continue slicing. We'll come back in just a minute. We'll see what it looks like with the tray full and the parchment. Okay, now, we have a tray full of sliced orange slices here, 1/4 inch on the dehydrating tray. Now, when you're slicing these slices, sometimes, as in my case, it gets very juicy and your knife might slip and you break the end. So here I don't actually have a rind on the end. I dehydrate it anyway. And you'll notice that I've used the end pieces, okay? Yes, because this will make a great zest in something later on, or perhaps just putting it down in tea or using it for potpourri. If we wanted to do the parchment paper, we would just move these over to the parchment paper, same thing, and we would dehydrate these in the oven, okay? Now, you're going to set this, as I said, I have not done these in the oven in a really long time, but I did go on today and I saw a video where it said to set them for 200 degrees, which I know is correct, and then you leave them for about 2 hours, and every half hour you want to check them and flip them over so that they can dehydrate well on both sides. But as you can see, this is, except for the cutting, this would be a great activity to do with the children. You do the cutting part and they get to lay them out onto the paper. Now, in my family, one of the best parts of Christmas always, when I was growing up as a child, was crafting, cooking, and decorating. These are the times to make wonderful memories. I did notice today on a video that after the orange slices or whatever citrus, you can imagine using limes and having green on your tree, or using some other type of citrus. If you use the very red looking insides of the grapefruit, that would be beautiful too. But I did notice that some folks actually glittered them. And I would think there's a variety of ways that you could actually glue them. One wonderful thing that we've done in the past is I've actually strung them on ribbon and hung them in front of the fireplace, and it helped to scent the room, and it was just so pretty. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to move these back over to the dehydrator tray because that's what I choose to do. Now, when I dehydrate my orange slices, what I like to do is I put them on overnight. So I'm going to set these overnight. Tomorrow we're going to come back, of course, in the same video, and you're going to see what it looks like and how we're going to put them together for the tree. When you hang them from the tree or wherever you want to decorate, which you could even use these on packages, which I think would be beautiful, is that you could actually use ribbon or string or embroidery floss, anything you would like to do to make them pretty. Okay, so now we're at the dehydrator. I wanted to spend just a few minutes talking with you about a dehydrator if you haven't used one before. Dehydrators used to kind of frighten me, but finally I got used to it and I love dehydrating. It's so easy and it's a great way to preserve food. My husband and I like to travel and go to thrift stores. If you enjoy thrift stores, you might want to look around for a dehydrator. We've actually bought this one at a thrift store. Our original one did not have a temperature setting. This one that we found at the thrift store does have a temperature setting. Either way, whatever you use will be perfectly fine. And so you want to stack your trays about 4 high. If you do have the temperature gauge, you might want to try to start at 125 degrees Fahrenheit. Now this one does have a dial that actually sets to, it actually says on the dial fruits and vegetables, and it sets to about 135 degrees Fahrenheit and 58 degrees Celsius. So you could try it there. I like to keep only 4 trays during the dehydration process for oranges and citrus because they are so moist that it's going to take more airflow. If we have 8 stacked, it seems like it kind of slows the process. So this way with just 4, it'll go a little faster and we'll have these ready in the morning. Okay, so now all we're going to do is set these here, put the lid on top, and we plug it in and we're ready to go. And we're back. First of all, I want to just comment that we are working in the Harvest Kitchen. So you're going to be hearing different noises in the background. Those are just natural kitchen noises and things like that. We apologize for clicks, pops, and weird sounds our refrigerator makes, but it's the nature of living on a homestead, okay? So now we have finished dehydrating our citrus, and I just made a few notes for myself. I wanted to share a few things. First of all, I wanted to let you know that the timing is going to matter. Of course, we had talked about this before, how thin you slice your slices, okay? I think I mentioned earlier in the early part of this video that I'm not very consistent with slicing, because sometimes if the slice is juicy, if the orange or the citrus is juicy and you're slicing it, it tends to mush. So some of those pieces I actually gave to my son as a treat, and the rest of them I put on the tray, okay? So some of my pieces are very consistently 1/8 to 1/4 inch. Well, that sounds inconsistent, but you get the gist. Thin. And then some of them really weren't. They were thicker than that, especially when I did the grapefruit, which are these slices here, okay? So the 12 hours worked great in the dehydrator at 125 degrees for the thin slices. But at about, I guess a few hours after that, I realized that I needed to up my time. So what I did is I went ahead and set my dehydrator to the vegetable and fruit setting, which is 135 degrees. And then I let it go at that point. Then it helped to get this ready. I wanted to finish it quicker for this video. But these slices here, the grapefruit, actually took longer than that. So you want to consider what temperature you're setting it at. And if you do it in the oven, I'm not really sure because I haven't really done the oven in a long time, which I had mentioned before at 200 degrees for 2 hours. But I would recommend trying to get a really good knife that you feel works well and slice your pieces thin if you want to do this quicker. Also, I wanted to comment that when you first take them out, they're not going to be quite as transparent as they will be later on. There's some kind of crystallizing process that takes place. It's really interesting. After a few hours or even a day, you will notice that your pieces start to crystallize and become more transparent. And when you put them on the tree, they're going to glisten more. So don't be too concerned what they look like when you first take them out, because I'm noticing my pieces look much prettier today than they did when I first took them out. Okay? Now, while they're in the dehydrator, you want to rotate your trays, because you want to give them an opportunity to dry, especially if you're going to fill all 4 trays, or you're even going to do more trays than that, which you need to give yourself a longer period of time. But you want to rotate your trays so that they get more of an even flow. Some of them get warmer because the air in the dehydrator is generally warm. So some are closer to the heat and some are not. So you want to rotate. Also, while you're dehydrating, you want to flip your pieces every so often. So I usually go in about every hour or two and I just flip my pieces over. These did not really stick to the trays at all. I really like working with this mesh, okay? So now we have our pieces and we're ready to go. I wanted to mention that you're going to notice after you take them out after a little while, they feel sticky. Don't worry about that. It's just the nature of the dehydration process, because once it gets out into the air in your kitchen, your home, and it starts to get moisture on it, it tends to get sticky and it will glisten a little bit on your tree. But as the air dries out in your house, especially in wintertime, if you're using wood heat or you're using, central heat or air, whatever, it's going to dry the pieces back out. So you'll be just fine. Okay, and then I like to just use my pieces naturally. So we're going to be working with these just the way they are. But if you didn't want to use them for potpourri or use them for other types of gifts to put in tea or drinks later on throughout the year, or use them even for zest or anything like that, you might want to do something that would preserve them, and then you could actually have them for a very long time. So you could use Mod Podge, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a liquid you can buy at the craft store, and you just use a paintbrush, you paint it on. It's kind of milky when you paint it on, and when it dries it's completely clear, so it will preserve them. Also, you could use an acrylic spray. But what we're going to do today is just natural, because I like it that way personally. So now you can get creative with different kinds of ribbon. What I have here is the curly ribbon. So this is where the children can really help, is to string these, and you can curl the ribbon and make them look kind of curly and fun. You could use a variety of different kinds of ribbons or yarn. You could even use jute, or you could use some other type of natural material. In my case, what I like to use is plain old ornament hangers. Okay, and that's what we're going to use today. So I'm going to just slip the ornament hanger into the side of my orange right here, my piece, and clip it tight. Now I like to have the rind showing to the outside, so I'm going to turn it around and clip it tight. And then when I put it on the tree and I have to hang it, I can move the top of it either way I want, because I like to hang these right in front of the lights. I actually pick places where the lights are going to shine through so that it has that stained glass look. Okay, let's do a piece with our grapefruit here, And let's pick a pretty piece over here, and we'll make a little hole. Probably have to make a hole with the hanger here. And we're going to run some ribbon through and see what that looks like. Now I can only imagine some of the really fun ideas children might come up with to make their own decorations. And while you're doing this, you might want to go ahead and do something fun with them. See, I've strung it right there. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to just make a loop like this and tie it in. But what you could do is you could actually put some on the stove while you're decorating. Have some of the orange and the, if you have some cinnamon or cloves, something like that. I'm going to take my scissors from over here and just open it up. Now you may need to do this part. If you have like a little popsicle stick, you could use something like that as well and make your curly cue. So now we have a little ornament hanger. Now this would be a lot of fun, as I did in my kitchen, for a kitchen tree. And you can think of all sorts of tasty things you could put on it. And then throughout the season, your children would enjoy maybe taking some of the treats off and sharing them with neighbors as they come by, or friends, or even eating them throughout the season. So it could be a fun way. You could have gingerbread men and candy canes and different types of treats that you make. But this I really enjoy. So you might want to scent this while you're having this, you're decorating your citrus. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and finish up these ornaments here, and then I'll meet you over at my big Christmas tree. Well, here are ornaments now. You'll see that I'm hanging the oranges right in front of the light. You see how it reflects the light? And if you look above, you'll see one, I think it's a grapefruit that has a green light shining through it. And then above that to the left, you'll see a bright yellow light. That is a white light shining through the citrus. It's really amazing how it works like that. It's like a jewel almost. It's so pretty. And when you add them all over the tree, it just fills it out. The more I added, the more I wanted to add. It reminded me of those reflectors that used to go around the lights like in the 1940s and 50s. It was so pretty because it would reflect the light. Well, when we filled these in and we stepped back, it just added. And you'll notice that you see Boy Scout ornaments and pictures of the family and different things from the past that we enjoy so much. But look at that light coming through the grapefruit. Isn't that beautiful? It just looks like jewels. And it makes me think of the jewels on the king's crown that you see right there. He says that we are the jewels in his crown. Isn't that amazing? What a beautiful thought. And when I see those lights, it reminds me of the jewels. And it's hard to imagine that we are jewels in the Lord's crown, isn't it? Those of us who receive him as Lord and Savior. But it's true. And so Christmas is such a special time to us. We focus on the Lord's birth, and all of these things remind us of the love of our family and people who have loved us and the people we have loved. If you have enjoyed this activity, please will you like and subscribe to our channel, and also you can visit us at our Facebook page and our website. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/BayouTown, and our website is bayoutown.com. Thank you so much for joining us, and we really appreciate your watching our videos. And we hope that you will have a blessed and very Merry Christmas with your family. God bless.